we will be back if anything happens from that free kick. England-Italy, remember, 2:15 kick-off at Twickenham in the men's Six Nations. That's on 5 Live Sports Extra. Scotland-Wales will be here on 5 Live at the conclusion of Crystal Palace against Burnley. This is our base from 3 o'clock. Alan, let's go back to John Murray.
Maddison took the free kick from the angle. And it went all the way in, but the flag is now up on the far side. Adam Nunn, the assistant over there. I have to say, I'm not entirely sure if it got a touch at all in the middle, but the flag is up, and it will be a free kick to Liverpool, and it will remain 1-0 to the champions. Just seeing the replay now that was played in. Oh goodness me, did he get a touch? Marty was in an offside position. He flung a leg out at it, and it has been decided that he did get a touch on it. He was in an offside position, and therefore the goal is ruled out, and it's still Leicester 0, Liverpool 1.
I suppose even if, I haven't actually seen a replay yet, but even if he didn't get a touch, it would be whether he was interfering or not.
Impeding Alisson and in his line of sight. So they are still looking at this, but play still has not restarted yet. So the inspection continues. But it's 1-0.
Would you like me to go and get team news from Palace Burnley, or do you want to try and
In fact, it's been given. It's been given as a goal. Anthony Taylor showed the square, the signal in the air, the rectangle, pointed to the centre circle, and the decision is that Amati did not get a touch on that, I think. Although was there a Liverpool foot in there as well?
Oh my God, there's it's tiny. So they've taken Amati's armpit, and there is a foot.
There's a Liverpool foot.
There's a Liverpool foot, but
did Amati get a touch on that?
I don't know whether he did. And actually, Maddison is talking to Amati to try and work out whether it is his goal or not.
Well, listen, because of the way that the goal's been given, it must have been decided that Amati got a touch on that. So therefore, the goal is given, and it's an equaliser for Leicester, 1-1.
I think that's going to be given as a Maddison. Well, Dave, you're looking as puzzled as I am.
I think that's going to be given as an Amati goal.
I go with Maddison. I don't think he touches the flight of the ball at all. It doesn't change or deviate.
Do you have Maddison in your fantasy team, Dave?
I don't. Ali Bruce Ball does, so I'm a little bit upset. But I've got to deliver the stats. Maddison has been involved in 7 goals in his last 7 Premier League games, as many as more than the previous 31.
Alisson collides with Ozan Kabak, and Vardy is in, and Vardy scores, and Leicester now lead by 2-1, and Vardy races away. He plucks out the corner flag and he plays it as if it's a guitar, and Leicester have completely turned this around against the champions. First the VAR decision, and then Alisson coming out. A huge misunderstanding with the new central defender, Ozan Kabak, on his debut. They collided and the ball fell perfectly for Vardy, who just had to run it into the net. Another defensive howler for Liverpool after what happened against Manchester City last weekend. And now it's Leicester 2, Liverpool 1.
What a turnaround. And you have to wonder what Alisson is doing there, John, don't you?
Well, it's one of his strengths, isn't it? Coming out of his penalty area and taking command. But that ball was heading straight for Ozan Kabak, who was not under pressure, but Alisson had started to come and kept coming, and then collided with his own man, and it just fell perfectly into the path of Vardy. And this Liverpool trough that they're on at the moment, really, the way that conspired against them is quite extraordinary. And Alisson, who is one of the cornerstones of this Klopp Liverpool success, that is a bad mistake.
What a ridiculous couple of minutes from a Liverpool perspective. The Premier League have just tweeted this on the first goal. The goal was initially disallowed because of offside, but after consulting VAR, referee Anthony Taylor gave the goal because offside was incorrectly flagged. They have given the goal to Maddison on that Premier League tweet. James Maddison fires home. And that, Dave, as we were discussing, that seems to be what it was. There was a Liverpool heel that meant nobody was offside. Whether it goes to Maddison or whether it goes to Amati.
Oh, here's Barnes. Barnes in with a chance. Saved by Alisson. Vardy. Oh, what a save by Alisson on the goal line. Oh, that was an amazing double save by the Liverpool goalkeeper. He might have been at fault for Leicester's second goal, but he saved them a third there.
This is a remarkable pattern of the last 5 minutes where we're sort of have this discussion and then all of a sudden this voice comes in from nowhere. Alisson's kept them in that, hasn't he, John?
Well, without question. The second save in particular there. That was remarkable that he was able to get up. Vardy, who had an angle on the far side of the penalty area with the shot, hit it well, but Alisson, a diving stop. So Leicester still lead 2-1.
Andy Reid, what do you make of that last 5 minutes?
It just sums it up at a minute, doesn't it? Going back to the game, the Man City game, and he's so up and down at the minute. And John just said there, it's consistency that he has had so good over the last 4 or 5. What has he been there for 3 years? Is it? He's been so consistent for them, and so to see him making them errors it's not great for Liverpool because they really need him to be solid at the moment.
He had I'm not a professional goalkeeper, but just from a viewer's point of view, he seemed to have no reason to come out for that ball.
I don't want to say too much, Chappers, because my goalkeeping coach thinks I pick on goalkeepers all the time. So if he's, I do give them a bit. I do give them a bit of stick.
Barnes scores, rolls it past Alisson. That is a third goal for Leicester City, and now the Liverpool that has been so strong under Jurgen Klopp is crumbling here. Barnes makes it Leicester 3, Liverpool 1, and this is some turnaround late in the second half for Brendan Rodgers' side.
Do you remember earlier this season, or maybe actually last season, when we talked about teams and how they react to close VAR decisions and whether it affects them psychologically? And you do wonder, I mean, I looked, Andy, at Jurgen Klopp's reaction when the first goal was given and it comes down to a heel. And how many of his players will have been aware of that, I don't know. But it does feel like that decision has just somehow caused them to lose focus and implode.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing that the top players are generally really good at, is dealing with setbacks really well. And at the moment, I think Liverpool are just in that bit where they're feeling sorry for themselves a little bit. Decisions that maybe could have gone for them are going against them, and it's kind of knocked the wind out of them. And then when you come with the confidence that they're struggling in a minute, and they're missing all the defenders and the new partnerships at the back, and it's just all going wrong for them at the moment. It just seems to be all going against them.
What's interesting, John, about that third goal is that it's nigh identical to how they got in for the Alisson save to keep it at 2-1, which is Barnes in that sort of inside left channel.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a simple ball over the top, and Barnes just tucked it away. And he's another one, of course, who Gareth Southgate will be aware of the form that he's on. That's 12 goals now for the season for Harvey Barnes, and Gareth Southgate is still here, down over to my right, watching.
What Barnes stats have you got, Dave?
Mind blown by that 5 minutes of football there, Chappers. I wanted to throw a little Vardy one in first before we dive into Barnes. Okay. Scored 8 goals against Liverpool. He's only scored more against Man City and Arsenal. So his record against the top teams is really good. In terms of Harvey Barnes, interesting side of him is obviously he's always been a player that gets shots inside the penalty area. In terms of the last 10 games in the Premier League, he's been directly involved in 7 goals, so 5 assists and 2 goals. 5 goals and 2 assists, should I say. But he's always a player that statistically has been in the background burning. He's starting to kind of take those chances in the penalty area, which, is credit to him. And now, it's the best campaign in his career in terms of goal scoring.
I feel for Kabak there, Andy, because I don't think the second goal was his fault because Alisson came out. And then those 2 chances have both come down his channel alongside Alexander-Arnold.
Well, it's that one, isn't it? And it's the same if you take Liverpool as a whole and then you break it down to individuals. And I know he's just come back in, but you have to be strong. If something doesn't quite go your way for whatever reason, you have to be mentally strong to be able to put it back to put it to one side. Can I just go on to just Leicester just for a second? And we touched on earlier on when we're talking about coaches and how coaches develop players. And I know we've given Brendan Rodgers in this show so much praise. Harvey Barnes is just another one of them. You know, that he brings players in at not astronomical prices compared to what some of the and I know he's come through the system, but Leicester have brought players in, but he improves them. Brendan Rodgers improves players. He works with them. You can visibly see when the players, how they improve week on week, how the team improve, how they start to understand what he wants from them. He teaches them different things. I mean, you know, Harvey Barnes when I seen him playing a couple of years ago, will have been just a wide player, and he'll get out and he'll go 1v1. Now you see him coming into the little pockets. He's taking up them clever little pockets, and you see Maddison, him dovetailing off each other, and they're making space for each other, and Vardy stretching them in behind. That's what you want to talk about when I say coaches to develop players, and not just buy somebody ready-made for 120 million or whatever. And that's what I would want in charge of my football club. And and I think that's what coaches should aspire to do.
I think another player that's massively improved under Brendan Rodgers is Wilfred Ndidi. That through ball then for Harvey Barnes into the channel was sensational. You're looking at his stats for the game. He's made 19 ball recoveries. That is crazy numbers. You're usually seeing people that are at the top of the charts of that stat around 10. He's on 19 already. He's won 5 out of his 9 tackles as well. Just in going back to Kabak in terms of, was he at fault for that goal? Of course, Liverpool play with their fullbacks high. They do play it high up the pitch. The space is there to attack, but there's no pressure on the ball from Liverpool. Indeed, he has the time in the world to get his head up, isolate the centre-back in the channel where he doesn't want to be isolated, and then, of course, Barnes applies the finish. So I wouldn't look at Kabak as at fault for that goal. Collectively, Liverpool, not good enough in the transition.
And when you talk about Liverpool, sorry, chappers, when you talk about Liverpool, what have we said about them over the last 4 or 5 years? They go after the ball. They put pressure on the ball. There was very, very few times over the last kind of 2 to 3 years where there's no pressure on the ball from a Liverpool player, and that's what the confidence does, and they're not quite ticking at the moment. The things that they've been really, really good at are just not quite there yet.
And I've just seen that third goal again, actually. And Mo Salah lost possession in the centre circle with a careless pass that then led to the ball that put Harvey Barnes away. So it depends how far back in the phase of play you want to go, of course, when you're looking at who might be at fault. They're nearly at 90 minutes in that game. The final whistle should be about to go any minute, John Murray, at the King Power.
Yes, we've had 5 minutes of added time. That's how much was signal as the minimum to be added on. And there it is. There is the final whistle. And Jurgen Klopp walks across to Brendan Rodgers. There's a little fist bump between the two of them. Brendan Rodgers has won for the first time against his old club Liverpool as the Leicester City manager, but Jurgen Klopp must be alarmed at what he's seen here, at the way that his team collapsed, really crumbled in the last 15 minutes of the match after being 1-0 up through Mohamed Salah's goal. Leicester equalised through James Maddison with a free kick on the left side of the penalty area that he drove in low. It was initially ruled out for offside, but VAR looked at it and gave it, and it's been given to Maddison. And then the second goal, another awful goal for the Liverpool goalkeeper Alisson after his errors last Sunday against Manchester City. Came out, collided with the debutant Ozan Kabak, and Vardy was able to run it into the net. And then after Alisson made a couple of excellent saves to keep it at 2-1, Harvey Barnes was put through, and he sealed the Leicester victory with a nice finish past Alisson from an angle. So Leicester goes second above Manchester United. Leicester 4 points behind the leaders Manchester City. And for Liverpool, that is 3 consecutive defeats for the champions now, who are now so far off the pace. Leicester 3, Liverpool 1.
And if you want to know the effect that first Leicester goal had on Liverpool, Statman?
It's absolutely incredible. Something that's just jumped out is that Liverpool didn't have a shot on goal since they conceded that first Leicester City goal. So the game just flipped on its head. And as you were talking about before, Mark, that VAR decision that was so close has affected them.
Chelsea win on Monday night. They will go above Liverpool. West Ham win on Monday. They will go above Liverpool as well. If Everton win over the weekend. By the way, Everton are 3 points behind Liverpool, and they have 3 games in hand, Andy Reid. So, I mean, if Everton win those games, and the derby is next. Is the derby not next weekend? I think the derby might be next as well. So, goodness me, there's some incentive for Everton.
Yeah, interesting. It's going to be interesting to see where Liverpool are at the end of the season. They're under all sorts of pressure now. They really are. And, you just want them to come together. They just need to come together and just ride the storm. They've been magnificent for a few years. So they just need to ride this storm and hopefully come out the other side for them. It's just a fight for them to finish in the top 4 at the minute, isn't it?
There's a little. If Manchester United win tomorrow, they're playing West Brom tomorrow. There would be a little bit of a gap between the top 3 and everybody else. Obviously, there's a gap between Manchester City and everybody else anyhow. But the top of the table, I might as well give it you in full, actually. Manchester City have 50 from 22, Leicester 46 from 24, Manchester United 45 from 23, Liverpool 40 from 24, Chelsea 39 from 23, West Ham 39 from 23, and Everton have 37 from 21.